Advocacy versus exploitation, the commodification of tragedy, the tragedy pimp and crama vulture. What is advocacy? Advocacy, noun, the act or process of supporting a cause or proposal, the act or process of advocating. Advocacy is an activity by an individual or group that aims to influence decisions within political, economic, and social institutions. What does a victim advocate do? Victim advocates are trained to support victims of crime. They offer emotional support, victims' rights information, help in finding needed resources, and assistance in filling out crime victim-related forms. Our advocates frequently accompany victims and their family members through the criminal justice proceedings. Advocates work with other organizations, such as criminal justice or social service agencies, to get help or information for the victims we serve. Our advocates staff the statewide crisis hotline. Victim advocates' responsibilities vary depending on the situation. What is exploitation? Exploitation is a concept defined as, in its broadest sense, one agent taking unfair advantage of another agent. When applying this to labor, it denotes an unjust social relationship based on an asymmetry of power or unequal exchange of value between workers and their employers. Exploitation, like other forms of abuse, involves a victim and perpetrator. These terms can be confusing because victims of exploitation can be coerced and controlled. Their actions may not seem like those of a victim, and they may appear to have freely or willfully carried out these actions. Exploit verb 1, to make productive use of, utilize. 2, to make use of meanly or unfairly for one's own advantage. The commodification of tragedy is, tragedy becomes a commodity in the form of film. The cultural products distributed by the entertainment industry reproduce these events as larger-than-life spectacle. I submit to you that the commodification of tragedy in terms of social media content also applies. Live streaming and podcasts are a commodity. The information they present is consumable and the creator makes money. When advocacy becomes exploitation. KQED article. While this article is in the context of poverty and addiction along the Tenderloin District, the concept of exploiting victims, bystanders, and the unfortunate circumstances, one can see the crossing of lines into exploitation for views, for financial gain. Do you remember the tabloids? Let's refresh your memory. Now, think about social media and thumbnails. What is a thumbnail? A very small or concise description, representation, or summary. Do you see the similarities? Let's take a listen to a recent interview with the father of missing teenager Sebastian Rogers.
Still, some insight into the possible dynamics that were going on inside that house before he disappeared, right?
Yes.
Now, speaking of the dynamics inside that home, I know that you said that there's some things that you were, I guess, some things were brought to your attention recently that really shocked you, Seth, that really kind of shook you. What is that?
Everybody already knows what you're talking about, Pascal. Other creators have been on it. Tony mentioned it last night in TikTok. Yeah, I have the DCS records for that house.
DCS records for that house. Okay, can you explain to me, because I know it's the Department of Children's Services, correct? So
yes.
it's basically CPS, but Tennessee's version of CPS, correct?
Correct.
So what exactly did you learn? What was shed? What light was shed on you?
Oh, my eyes are open to a lot of things, and no, I can't share it with you. First of all, DCS reached out to my attorney, and because social media gets around, they reached out to my attorney. My attorney reached out to me, and I told them I had no plans of releasing any of this stuff at all. But I know it. I know what happened. I know the reports that were going on. I have a lot more understanding of what was happening in that house now.
Okay, so you are not going to release the information?
No.
Why not? The reason why I asked this, Seth, is because it could give more insight on why your son may have ran away, why your son may have disappeared. I mean, if it's not.
Now, let's see what happened immediately following this interview.
nosy as we are, and I'm an admitted nosy person when it comes to these cases, especially with these children. I want to know every single thing, you know what I'm saying? And despite whether we can't know or not, I'm so thankful that Seth gets to know, you know what I'm saying? Because he went from having no knowledge and no reports and no communication with the Department of Children and Family Services to now having some reports that give him a little insight on what was going on inside that home. It really kind of upsets me because I kind of feel if the Department of Children and Family Services had communicated with him early on or told him these things were going on like they were supposed to, I feel like it would have been possible that Sebastian would have been removed from the house before it got to this point. Clearly, there was a spiraling effect that went on in the dynamic of that home, and obviously there's a reason why we're here. Okay, this is clearly not where a child just up and walked out of a home. So that's kind of where we are with our updates on that.
And notice he's saying Tony doesn't even know. Liars. Now this is someone that claims they reported Seth to DCS. Really, people say CPS, DCS, DCF, and different, Child Protective Services. But Seth is saying that he got that call through his attorney. So did he break the law? Where did his attorney come from? And who is this attorney? Now, if I was interviewing Seth, I'd have been like, Seth, who's your attorney? Who's your attorney? How are you hiring attorneys? Is it a criminal defense attorney or is it a civil defense attorney? But the fact is, he lawyered up. He lawyered up. Came out of his own mouth, unless he lied. Some people think he lied. A lot of people actually think in groups that this was all a game. But I don't know. I don't know.
A sample of creators muddying the waters, speculating and creating fodder for the rumor mill. This is exploitation, not advocating for the missing. This was just a sample of the thumbnails inviting viewers into a channel. What is the content? It's supposed to be a stream raising awareness for the missing teenager, Sebastian Rogers. I present to you, it's nothing more than salacious speculation to boost views, grow the channel, and bring in money to the channel. There's a fine line between advocating for the missing and exploiting their name for financial gain. These are real people, going through a real-life crisis. They are not content to boost your numbers.